so excited to be here with you, Steven. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Robin. How are you? Thanks for
I'm
having
doing,
me.
of course. I'm so excited to be able to chat with you in this moment. We usually don't have an opportunity to speak at this moment in time before solstice because we're both in all kinds of preparations. This is a unique year. I know we're both been busy, but it was a great opportunity to kind of check in with you, and um, I'd love to know a little more about what drew you to Solstice originally and what kept you involved in all of these years.
So, in 1980, I should back up a little bit. I'm originally from here. My family's from here. And we went back to my family home in Texas when I was about 6 years old. And we would come back and forth to Santa Barbara. So I never really left Santa Barbara. We were always coming out here pretty much every summer. And I always knew that this is where I wanted to be. I mean, I
Mm.
knew that, you know, I, I don't want to say anything disparaging about Texas, so I won't say anything. I'll say that it was never really my home as a child. So coming back here always felt like I was able to breathe again, and to have some expansion. So I came back in 1980, and I immediately met somebody, which was to be my first big relationship. And let's see, I got here at the very end of May 1980, and we met like within the week, because it was also my birthday week. And then he started telling me about this parade, oh, you would like this parade. So we went to the parade in 1980, and it freaking blew my mind. I can't even tell you. So really, I think right about that time, I started counting the days until 1981 happened. And then, I was so new back to town. I mean, as an adult, I had been here as a kid, visiting grandma and family and stuff. So I just went to the thrift store and bought some bright, colorful things and painted my face white. And the parade started, and I just jumped in. And there was a life I felt inside of that moment that I just had never, ever experienced, ever. Mm. And so within that period of time, almost immediately, I started taking dance classes, which I was about 21 at the time. And that started a whole nother trajectory. And then, of course, moving back into the solstice realm. And then I met Dave McKay, I think the second year, and he started pulling me in as more of an official solstice person. And it really changed the whole trajectory of what I was doing in my life completely. And so that's all of what goes on for me right now is because I stepped into that solstice parade. It really was. That was the moment in time for me where things went boom. And I knew that, and I knew I couldn't just have a job anymore. And that was after the
Wow,
last.
that's so powerful to hear that beginning. I didn't know your story, and it's so intriguing to know that you just came to town and there was like a solstice parade just a few days, 2 weeks later, and then it's like such a big part of your life. Since then, and since people pulled you in, you've now played over the years a number of different roles in the workshop as artistic director, and have supported many different dance groups locally to create and build up ensembles. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
I wish I could tell you years and stuff. Sometime in the 80s, after working, let's see, Dave brought me in. He had this idea about the Zanies, these kind of mythical Shumash creatures with yellow feet. And so I helped him put together this group with dancers. And so I went into the studio and pulled a bunch of kids in and some of my dancer friends, because by that time I was already working in the dance community here. So that was really kind of an amazing experience to work with him. And he was, he was really pretty masterful in his whole approach to being in the workshop and creating an ensemble and running the parade at the same time, because he was, that year, I think they had a team, Dan Stewart, I forget who it was all, but Dave, I worked mostly with Dave. And then the next year, I think Michelle Byrne was the director, and she was a personal friend and a choreographer. And so she approached me, and so I actually put together my first ensemble of my own that year. I think it was the same year Polly came in. We came in together.
Oh, okay.
And I had a huge, like 50 people ensemble. And actually, it's so funny. There's a college girl that I met who became one of my moms from my dance studio with her two kids. I mean, it was just all these little connections that happened that sort of rippled out. That is such a Santa Barbara thing, So
absolutely. Now there's generations of families that are
so crazy.
Connections and people who have met through Solstice have kids that are now in the parade. This year, we had the opportunity to go through a lot of old photos and create kind of a parade of history of sorts. And it's been really fun to see some of those shots. And you are in many of them, and having fun in the parade and also after. Just kind of that spirit is still there. And I'm a relative newcomer to all of this, didn't grow up here, but have always admired it, whether I was in Ventura before moving here, and then had the opportunity to get involved. And it's just, there is a spirit that is there that is bigger than, your individual participation. And it's really hard to explain until people are involved with it. How would you characterize a little bit of that feeling that is the solstice spirit per se? It's hard to.
I'll go back actually to my original time coming into the parade and how it really affected me, because for me, it was such a great example and feeling of the stars lining up. It really did. I mean, it was this ripple out effect from Solstice. And so, I mean, just over the years and how I've developed as a spiritual person, I definitely see there's something about this celestial event that happens every year at this time, and the spiritual purpose for what this event is in this hemisphere anyway is around expansion. And then then we're in the middle of this great big creative process amongst a community of people. And then you've got this expansiveness going with the light coming through and going longer every day to this pinnacle of a moment. And we're lining up with all these forces in the universe. It can't help but affect you. It can't help but penetrate the skin inside you. It can't help but move your heart in a different place. And it just never fails to do that. It just never fails. And I think they get it at Fiesta too. I mean, the people that love Fiesta certainly have a different avenue to get there. So it's really, it's an amazing experience, not just to create with your community, but wow, step out in front of 100,000 people, this audience, this adoring audience that's screaming at you, that can't even hardly control their great joy. When I talked earlier about the expansiveness of this moment in time of moving into summer with all this creative force, it shook me completely open differently than I ever had been before. I mean, I had already been out. I was with my first boyfriend. Um, I just don't know that I understood my own creative force until I found it inside of this moment. And because I had been shy, I had never once thought about, or no, that's not true. I had never really believed that I could be on stage in a certain particular way. And and when that came out, when I came out of being a stage person, it came out big. I mean, I just don't think I wasted much time. It came out in such a pure, large way that and I could tell that the audience, the street, was having an experience of what I was doing. That's really true healing. I want to try to take it out of the idea of ego, because it's not, it's a share, it's a sharing of energy. So when the audience loves you, and you have to love them back, you have to give them something back, but it's this symbiotic relationship that happens between your one self, and this is all a lineup of 1,000 participants, and 100,000 people. It's just, it's just indescribable. It moves me to tears, really, because it's so fantastic. And it's really pure. I think it's really pure. So that's
Oh, I
my...
so agree with you, and I have experienced the same thing. I grew up shy, and it still comes and goes depending on the moment, but it comes out of the woodwork when it's time to just be animated and have some fun on the street, in the parade. And I've seen so many people come through the workshop, and I've only been involved 5 years, but and you've been involved, you said from the 80s. So you can see how people come in. Maybe they want to be a volunteer. Maybe they help out with a group or ensemble making something, and then suddenly their friends are pulling them into the actual parade, and they come out a different person and a glorious human being. They were that before, but they are just more expanded, and it's a beautiful thing to see. And it's wonderful to share that with you and to hear about your experience and how that has shaped your life, as well as all of these people that you have taught and trained to dance. What has that experience been like? So you grew this space for yourself, but then you gave it to so many other people.
Well, it's not something that you truly give away, because it creates this circle between you and another person, so that's been the gift of my life, not just with dancers but with children, because I've really, it's and that, I have to say, that was really born out of Solstice too. It was, because so much of my the success that I had as a dance teacher was built on this visibility that I had, and then people could find me. I think I was easy to find, and somebody wanted to tap into that energy. So it's just a sharing of energy. That's what Solstice is. That's what teaching is. Teaching is a sharing of energy. So it just creates a circle between you and the people you're imparting this to. And I certainly have seen this, because I've been doing this so damn long now, that energy really has an opportunity to find another home and reinvent itself. And that's really sort of the miracle of the creative force in our lives, as humans. And I think, really, when I look out at all of what's going on in this country right now and in the world, and all the out of balance and everything, I really have to say, I want to simplify every minutia of this to a lack of creative force in people's lives. Because once that happens, they learn little smidgens of it by having babies, because that's a part of it too. I believe that. But it's not, the minute they come out, it depersonalizes itself because you take all your energy and put it into that one human, and you get neurotic about it, you know, instead of this open feeling that you have putting a group together. Well, no, I've seen people get neurotic about that too. I shouldn't say that. Yes, we've had that experience a few times. But the creative force is open, and it's all encompassing, and it's beautiful. So, you know, if you're having anything of an experience that's not that, then something the leadership needs to change a little bit, or the person in charge needs to sort of reevaluate how they're going about something. Because having a vision is one thing, but, you know, bringing a community in, you've got to be able to be open to so many thoughts and processes inside of it. I have to say, it's been so, I want to give big props to Teresa, Teresa Nowak. She is such a force, and my last few years of involvement, because I have to, I didn't go in the parade for a couple of years. I'm 63 now, and with all of my dancing and all of my time on the parade, I've gotten to where the parade cripples me a little bit whenever I get out there and just do my thing.
Yeah.
And it's that asphalt, you know, it really
Right.
is just
It is
doing
hard surface,
what
for
I
sure.
love to do on the asphalt. And so at one point I said, I can't do this anymore. And I went AWOL a couple of years and just got a camera out. And that was really fun, I have to say. Photographing the parade was, wow, that was so much fun. And my computer crashed and I lost all of that. But I had some great images that I had taken back in those 2 years that I did the parade, photographing it. But the second year, I connected with Teresa's group, and I went out there and I danced with them, and I learned all their choreography with a camera in my hand. And and then she found me after that, and she said, "What are you doing? You know, you need to be with me."
Right.
So she gives me these little parts where I can sort of adjust myself accordingly, and yet I'm a part of this whole ensemble, and I can sort of dance when I want to. So it's been amazing, and I just love her creative force, and she really, it's just another way of observing the vision, you know, the vision. But that's you know, the whole vision thing with a community of 100 people just is awesome to see unfold. So I go into these, you know, I go in as a participant with her, and she gives me these things to do that are very much in the front. You know, she puts me right up because I help her pace her ensemble is what I do. But to see a vision open up in front with these people in front of 100,000, it's, as an observer who's been in this parade for a long time, it just blows my mind every time to see, because the energy for me is really palpable. It's almost like I see the threads going through from the audience to the dancers it's just something. So, and, you know, put in music, and the kids that run through her groups every year, and yeah.
She very much is a force, and I'm excited to interview her later today and just kind of get a better understanding where all of that yummy energy and creativity come from. It's really a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing.
As we start to wrap up, is there anything else that you would like the community to know about Solstice, that maybe if they haven't been involved, or if they were thinking about getting involved, what should they know? You've shared so many good things, but anything else that you'd like to share before we wrap up today?
Bring your kids. This is a way to have your kids have an experience of this town that will change them. And then if it's something that they are drawn to, bring your kids to the workshop. Bring down there and let them see what it looks like to put a parade together. And then maybe watch again that year. And then if you're cycling through in this third year, come and find a group that has kids in it. You know, I would say this is a way to really open up your kids' to creative energy, diversity, ideas around tolerance and differences, and how all these things are able to come together and be, this is what community looks like. That's what it looks like. It looks like everything under the sun. And that's what Solstice is. Oh, wow. Did that
Well,
just come out of my mouth?
that just community is everything. And it's
Goodness.
so true. It's so amazing to connect with you this year
Thanks,
in
Robin.
this moment,
Yeah,
as we need that community. And
we
we
do.
have found it in an elevated way throughout the years with Solstice. We invite everybody to join our community, and just thank you for this opportunity to
Oh
be
my
with you,
gosh.
to share your experience and all that you have brought to this organization and Santa Barbara and the families throughout the years. It's an
Well,
honor.
it's my honor. Believe me, it is my honor. I will die fulfilled because of summer solstice. Honestly, it's the truth.